home. And then she's screaming that John didn't come home. She started saying, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? And then she just was just all over the place. I was frozen. I was shocked. I couldn't believe that was him just lying there.
Testimony from key witness Jennifer McCabe continues as she recalls the night of her friend John O'Keefe's death. She's returning to the stand this morning in defendant Karen Reed's retrial. So how well is her testimony going this time around? Plus, will she face a fiery cross-examination like last time? Our power panel weighs in. Also this hour, there's a brand new series all about the Murdaugh murders. And we've got some insiders with the new TV show joining us live to talk about production. And the Farris family is back in the news. Convicted killer Melody Farris and her son, Scott, both of them speaking out, with Melody claiming that she knows who the real killer is. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Wednesday morning to you, my friends. Welcome to Opening Statements. I'm your host, Julie Grant. We got a tremendous show planned for you with such great guests, so let's get right to it. Grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. A need for speed? Well, that all depends. In Florida, Mama Donna Adelson wants her case continued. Her trial is set to start on June 3rd, and today the judge will hear some arguments as to why they want a request for a postponement. Now, her defense team also canceled the depositions of both Wendy and Charlie. Wonder why? Well, perhaps those cancellations have something to do with the defense's postponement request, but who knows? What I do know is that the old saying about the wheels of justice is proven to be true time and time again. It is okay if Mama Donna gets her delay. It won't change the facts about the murder of her former son-in-law, Danny Markell. It won't change the state of Florida's position that she was allegedly one of the masterminds and the financial backer of the plot to hire gangbangers to murder Danny Markell. A postponement won't change the fact that the sick, evil plot ended up hurting two of the people she loves the most in this world, her grandsons. They're forced now to grow up without their father, all because of their Uncle Charlie and allegedly their Grandma Donna. So I say, let's not worry about a postponement. If it happens, it happens. But sooner or later, complete justice for Dan Markell will happen too. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
Actually, done.
Okay, fine.
Done. Because you're costing me money. I didn't do because I got to this house because of you.
You let Mom say some line that.
No, because of you. Flirting with like three girls the whole time.
Three girls.
In Florida, OnlyFans model Courtney Clenny back in court for a motions hearing. That's going to begin at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. In Tennessee, we've got the state continuing its case with former police officers that they're prosecuting for the beating death of Tyree Nichols. Court's going to resume in that one at 10 a.m. Eastern. We will have updates for you on that throughout the day. And in Florida, we've got Mama Donna Adelson back in court at 4 p.m. Eastern for that postponement request the defense has, what I was just talking about. So when that begins, we will also be following that for you live. Now, let's turn to our top story. In Massachusetts, we have got key witness in the case against defendant Karen Reed, Jennifer McCabe, returning back to the stand this morning. Her direct examination started on Tuesday and it continues this morning. And if you saw the first trial, you might remember her. She is a dear friend of John O'Keefe's. Has been before the case and still is today with his family, very, very close to the family member. She talked about his niece in her time on the stand. And she was with defendant Karen Reed because Karen Reed reached out to Jennifer McCabe through John's niece that morning when she was drunk and frantic.
You indicated that the defendant said, I hit him, is that correct?
Yes.
That's something that she said once or more than once?
3 times. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
All right, so that was from the first trial. We're just about to get to that point in this trial. The judge had everyone stop short of that yesterday. And on Tuesday, she did describe that phone call, what I just mentioned, that frantic call in the middle of the night from a very drunk Karen Reed.
Describe her demeanor.
Miss Reed's.
Yes.
Jen! And then she's screaming that John didn't come home. She left him at the waterfall. She was hysterical. It was very hard to follow what she was saying. She started saying, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? And then she just was just all over the place, like screaming my name, screaming so many different things. She was hard to follow or understand.
And Jennifer McCabe also testified in the first trial how Karen Reed directed her to Google hypothermia. That Google search, how long to die in the cold with how misspelled, has been something that the defense team has tried to make hay out of. And we expect more testimony about this morning when she talks about when Karen Reed asked her to do that. So how is this morning going to go with both the direct examination and then the all-important cross? They went really hard on her last time. Are they going to do the same? I have two outstanding guests. I want to welcome them in now. The host of the Roberta Glass True Crime Report podcaster, Roberta Glass, is back with us, and former United States attorney. He's also a former state-level prosecutor, and he is a heavy hitter in the private sector now doing criminal defense work. William Ehlenfeld back on the show. Good morning to you both. All right, ladies first. I want to start with you, please, Roberta. How do you think Jennifer McCabe's testimony is going so far in this trial? And of course, you've had the benefit of seeing her in the first trial as well.
Well, she's a very powerful witness, which I think is one of the reasons why Karen Reed pointed the finger at her. Also, Karen Reed admitted that she broke her taillight to Jennifer McCabe. This is the big headline, I think, that should have not been buried before. Karen Reed told Jennifer McCabe that she cracked her taillight way before she ever did that 507 love tap into John O'Keefe's car, part of the cover-up, making a little bit of evidence, a little bit of an alibi for herself. So I think it's going well. And of course, we've had the benefit of the ARCA witnesses, the Ian Whiffen from Cellbrite. So we've already know about the right time date for that search. So it's all in context. It's very powerful.
Right, it sure is. I love how you call it a love tap, Roberta. You're talking about that middle of the night Ring camera video, the only one that still exists, because the Commonwealth contends Karen Reed deleted all the other ones where she appears to be hitting John O'Keefe's car with her car and gives it a little tap, but the Commonwealth has evidence that's not what broke the taillight. I have a clip from Jennifer McCabe from yesterday where she's talking about how Karen Reed and John O'Keefe never came into the house that night. Here we go.
How many times did you look out?
Can't give you an exact number of how many times I looked out. I can tell you I saw the vehicle first straight out from the front door. Then I saw it up at the flagpole, and then I saw it further up from the flagpole.
What were you expecting was going to happen?
I was expecting John and Karen to come into the house.
Did they ever make it in the house?
No, they did not.
William Ehlenfeld, I want to ask you, please, how important is it to the state's case, in your opinion, to establish that the defendant and the victim never set foot in the home?
I think it's absolutely critical. That is something that the defense has hung their hat on as far as what really happened here, at least their theory of the case. And if they're unable to show that John O'Keefe went inside that house, then they're going to have to come up with something else. And I think so far the testimony that the Commonwealth has presented early in this case, and this is a long case, so I consider this early, what's happened the past couple of days, has really helped to refute the defense theory that John O'Keefe was attacked and harmed inside that house and then left to die outside of the house. Between Ian Whiffen's testimony and then Jen McCabe's testimony yesterday, and we're going to get more of that today, I think the Commonwealth should be very happy where they are right now. Jen was strong. She was emotional. I believe she was very credible. I really liked the video they showed from the bar that helps to corroborate that Jen didn't have an axe to grind with Karen Reed. She was clapping when they came into the bar. So it was a celebratory evening. They were she was happy to see John and Karen, and then things obviously went really bad after that.
Right. William, excellent points. Dovetailing off of what you said about the video from the bar, Roberta, let me go to you on that, because we know that defendant Karen Reed has villainized a lot of people. Her defense team has made a lot of people villains in this story. And as far as Jen McCabe goes, the point William just made so good about that night. Jennifer McCabe was happy to see them. Jennifer McCabe hugged her, clapped, like William said, when she saw them. It's all on videotape. How do you think that is going to play before the jury? Even though we know in the court of public opinion, there can be people who are pursuing and pushing their propaganda every single day on this case, but that's not what's going to matter here. What's going to matter is the evidence the jury sees. So how do you think they're going to see Jennifer McCabe's view of Karen Reed?
Well, there's no reason for either Jennifer McCabe to and the police to frame Karen Reed. This has been a problem with the defense's theory. Why frame the finance professor and the financier? I mean, they've said she's a convenient outsider, but that doesn't really, for me, it's not satisfactory. And I thought it's very effective when, she's clapping when Karen Reed and John O'Keefe come in. So, and then the next minute she's taking part in a murder or witnessed a murder and is part of a cover-up. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it really doesn't. I mean, we know Karen Reed is the last person to see John O'Keefe alive, the first person to see him dead. She was also incredibly drunk, 9 drinks in a 3-hour period. She's admitting she hit him. In order to believe this defense theory, you have to discount an awful lot of evidence. Don't you, William?
You do, and I think what you made a great point, Julie, about all of the emotion in this case, and you have people that have sort of dug in on one side or the other. I sort of consider myself an outsider to this because I didn't follow the first trial as closely as I'm following this one. And I thank you, Julie, for bringing me into this because this is a fascinating trial to follow. I really think, you have to believe that these jurors are unbiased and they have, the clear vessels in their head, as an old judge I used to appear in front of used to say. They're empty vessels. They don't have any preconceived notions about this case. And so they're just hearing all this for the first time. They're seeing Jen, who comes across as credible and emotional and as someone who it doesn't appear to have any reason at all to be involved in this cover-up. And you heard Ian Whiffen before her. All of this just really seems to make sense that the Karen Reed is the one who did this. Now, the defense has yet to put on its case. They haven't cross-examined Jen. There's a lot that they still want to do here. But I think so far, the Commonwealth should be very happy with how they're doing. And this jury, I think they have the jury at this point in time. And I don't have the benefit of seeing their reactions in the courtroom, which is always important. But I think so far they're doing everything that they need to do to secure a conviction.
And you would certainly know with all your experience, William. Thank you for that. Roberta, let me go to you on some of the story here, please. We know this theory of this grand conspiracy, and quite frankly, I don't even know what specifically they're saying happened. They're just pointing a lot of fingers at a lot of innocent people and witnesses and people who loved John O'Keefe. But way back when, at the first hearing, and Roberta, I know you've been following this since day one, David Yannetti wasn't saying a big conspiracy was going on or that John O'Keefe was harmed by anybody other than what might have been an accident with his client. Now, was he?
He was calling it a tragic accident. He also said that she had a brain tumor, that she had a large section of her colon removed, all these illnesses that we've never heard of or seen again, just sort of disappeared. And he was painting it as a tragic accident. And it looked like he was going to blame the root of some kind of medical episode. That seemed what he was with her brain tumor, which is so interesting because that's what John O'Keefe's sister died of shortly before, Karen Reed and John O'Keefe got together. So
Hey,
It's
Sister
just an interesting
Kristen.
ailment to say she has, right?
Right. Interesting point. Thank you for pointing that out, Roberta. I think it's going to get really interesting and very emotional hearing from those children that belong to Kristen and her husband, and then John O'Keefe, their caretaker. Because remember, they saw Karen Read, especially John's niece, had a lot of contact when Karen Read was very frantic and very drunk that morning, saying that she hit John, and when she told Carrie Roberts that John is dead before they discovered him. All right, we have to leave it there for now. Roberta, I know we have to let you go. Thank you for everything this morning. It's always a pleasure to have you. We'll talk again very soon. Attorney William Ehlenfeld's coming with us and want you to do the same at home, please. When we come back, here's what's next.
Hey, he's got a bird in his mouth.
Hey, Bubba.
It's a guinea.
This is a chicken.
A brand new TV show on the scandals that embroiled the Murdaugh family is in production, and we've got some insiders with the series joining us live next. Plus, the Farris family wheel of drama keeps on spinning. Convicted killer Melody Farris and her son Scott speaking out in a brand new TV interview.
Is Karen Read a killer girlfriend?
She's guilty.
Or the scapegoat in an elaborate cover-up?
Karen Read was free.
Karen Read is accused of murdering her police officer boyfriend.
Defendant stated repeatedly, I hit him, I hit him.
She may end up taking the stand.
Her first trial ended with a hung jury. They haven't proven anything.
Will a jury finally agree on a verdict?
We know who did it.
The Karen Read murder retrial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Indictment for murder, guilty. Indictment for murder, guilty.
Justice was done.
It gave a voice to Maggie and Paul Murdaugh, who were brutally mowed down and murdered. We can't bring them back, but we can bring them justice.
And he may be taken away.
Now to what's trending in true crime. The real-life crime drama surrounding the once powerful South Carolina attorney Alec Murdaugh is coming to the small screen. A new Hulu series about Murdaugh and the murders of his wife Maggie and his son Paul and all of his financial crimes is being filmed right now as we speak. And the main characters have been cast. Actor Jason Clarke will be playing Alec Murdaugh. Patricia Arquette will be playing Alex's late wife Maggie. And Brittany Snow is set to take on the role of journalist Mandy Matney. Now, Matney is very well known for all of her great reporting work on the murders of Maggie and Paul early on. Many people would say that she is the one who really pulled back the curtain on the Murdaugh family and on their saga of crime and corruption. And we're so happy to welcome Mandy Matney and her friend and co-host of the Cup of Justice podcast, Eric Bland, on the show this morning. Good morning to you both. Wonderful to have you here. And Mandy, let me start, please, by just saying congratulations. We are so thrilled for you. This is so exciting, and all of that hard work really has paid off. How does it feel?
It feels absolutely surreal. And thank you, Julie, for having me on. I just keep walking around and I'm like, ask people. I want people to ask me about the Murdaugh show all the time. I'm so happy about it. Like, I couldn't be more proud to be a part of this project. And every time I'm on set, I am just more and more confident of how great this show is going to be. So I'm just over the moon. And Brittany Snow is literally the best, a literal movie star. I can't believe it.
Right. I love that she's playing you. That is perfect. A perfect casting there. And Eric, I know you are a dear friend of Mandy's. You two started the Cup of Justice podcast and really kind of bonded over, the involvement that you both had respectively in covering the Murdaugh case and you representing witnesses who were involved, Eric. And so what's this like for you, seeing this success for Mandy?
I think it's the best. I mean, it's richly deserved. And as you said in your introduction, she really was the OG on this Murdaugh saga. In 2018, she started investigating the Murdaugh family. And this was way before the murders, way before the thefts were discovered way before the Labor Day shooting, way before he was removed from his law firm. So Mandy was, taking on a hard task. There was a lot of people that were offended by the questions that she was asking, and it's really nice. I mean, Mandy has not participated in a lot of these interviews on TV. She hasn't really lent her hand to any of the documentaries that have appeared. But this one, being a co-producer of this, she really is behind it. And I think you're going to see an accuracy to this series that you may not have seen on some of the documentaries that had a compressed time schedule to put together a story to try to beat other companies. So they're taking their time, and I think they're doing it right. And it's a great reward for Mandy's hard work.
Oh, I know you're so proud of her. Mandy, I understand that you went on set. They're filming this in Atlanta. I understand that you traveled and got to be on the set, and even I have a chair with your name on it. How cool was that?
Incredible. Yesterday, looking over and seeing Patricia Arquette, like the queen of the world, just looking exactly like Maggie. I have to do double takes on the set constantly because Jason Clarke looks exactly like Alec Murdaugh. That kind of freaks me out. Will Harrison looks a lot like Buster. And Johnny Birchtold looks a lot like Paul Murdaugh. And I've seen these people in real life, and I have to just look a couple times because I'm like, whoa. I mean, the level of detail in this show, and the crew was working so hard for not only accuracy, but to respectfully portray the victim stories and to tell the right parts of this story that will, A, inspire people to stand up to corruption, and B, to make sure that these victims don't get forgotten and that their stories are really told, and what happened here is told in the right way.
Right. I love that that's so important to you and Eric and to Liz Farrell, your colleague. You all three co-host Cup of Justice, and I love that you're so victim-centered and really care about the people at the center of these stories. And in this one, Maggie and Paul and all of the other people victimized by the financial crimes, so many, we've lost count. Mandy, what was it like going back to those early moments? I mean, I'm talking before people across the nation didn't hear about Alec Murdaugh, but you felt something was wrong. What was it that made you want to dig in?
Just the initial, I'll never forget the initial morning when we found out that Mallory Beach, at that point, her body was missing and that she was at least hurt in the crash and missing. And we heard that morning there's going to be corruption in this boat crash case. There's going to be a cover-up. You guys have to cover it. We heard from people saying that over and over again in Hampton. And then they started talking about, do you know about Gloria Satterfield? Do you know about this? Do you know about that? And I just couldn't stop. I was always a little bit obsessed with true crimes and true crime documentaries and podcasts and things. And this was unlike anything I had ever heard before as a journalist. And not only that, but I felt like it was my purpose as a journalist to expose a story like this. If we don't stand up to corruption, what are we doing?
I have so much respect for you, Mandy. You're absolutely right. And you also do the True Sunlight podcast now. And Eric, you also do the Good Skill podcast. You all are podcasting pros. Eric, tell me, what was it that got you all together, you and Mandy and Liz, when you decided, okay, we need to do Cup of Justice?
I think it was like Minds always is the first thing, but we have this focus in our careers on being victim-centered. For me, it's I hate bullies, I hate clients that are mistreated, and I've spent the better part of 38 years bringing claims against attorneys who have mistreated their clients, either stolen money from them or acted in a conflict of interest. I think clients often are lost when it comes to attorneys, and I just view that the legal profession is a self-policing profession. And so when I see clients that are mistreated, it just absolutely drives me. And I think Mandy has the same ethos for victims of crime. And Liz, of course, is really smart, very witty. And so we decided that because there's just this yearning for true crime in our country right now, true crime documentaries and true crime books and podcasts, it was something that we felt was needed, and we're 127 shows into it and counting.
That's awesome. Congratulations. And you're doing it the right way by talking about these issues with sensitivity in mind to the victims, because as we all know, we don't want anyone re-traumatized in covering the true crime cases that we have. So certainly appreciate that with your podcast. Mandy, let me go back to you for a last question before we have to let you both go for now. With the producing of the show, we know they're still in the midst of production. You visited the set. How much consulting did they do with you, if any, in terms of accuracy and the work that you did on the ground and the formation of their scripts for the program?
Oh, and years of fact checking, and this has all been years in the making. I mean, we've had a whole team, and we are still fact checking scripts to this day. Pretty much every day I get a question from somebody related to the show. What happened when Alex did this in 2019, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of this, thankfully, is in my memory that is just stored with Murdaugh stuff, unfortunately. And as now I have a place to put it. So I'm really excited to, again, it's just absolutely surreal seeing the footprint of how big this show is. And yesterday I saw a sea of extras and a sea of crew members. And it's just pretty incredible that all of this is based off the work that my husband and I, a little podcast that my husband and I started at our kitchen table. And I've talked to Brittany about this to a great extent. We really want to inspire women to be a journalist like me and do the hard thing and stand up to corruption and fight the good fight. And I think that this show will do all of those things. And I'm really excited and grateful to have this opportunity.
That's so awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing it, and I hope we can talk again when it's premiere time. Would love to have you both back. Thank you so much. Mandy Matney, every good wish for more continued success. Eric Bland, we know we're going to have you back on the show on some other legal issue very soon, and good wishes on your recovery from the knee surgery. We're so glad to see you back at it. We've missed you. And still ahead here on Opening Statements. Here's what we've got.
I walk up and look, and I can already start seeing bones. These are human remains. I am calling 911 right now. Nobody's allowed down here.
At that point, did you suspect your mom?
Definitely.
Oh, you remember Scott Farris from the Burn Powell murder trial? Well, he's speaking out about his mother, convicted killer Melody Farris, in a brand new interview. Next.
Did you murder your father?
I absolutely did not murder my father. Without a doubt, I loved him.
Did you have anything to do to help your mother dispose of and burn your father?
Absolutely not.
Tell me, not me.
No. Like I said, I love my father. He was the backbone.
This morning, we're shining a spotlight on the fallout from the Burn Powell murder trial. Remember that one? The Farris family drama has now become the focus of the latest episode of 48 Hours. The family's matriarch, Melody Farris, was convicted and sentenced to spend the rest of her life in prison for the murder of her husband, Gary, a prominent Atlanta lawyer. Now, this was a dramatic moment that many of us remember watching on court TV. It was called the Ferris wheel during Melody Farris's trial. The Georgia family's turmoil played out all in front of a jury and for the world to see. So Melody was convicted for her husband's killing, but her defense team tried to blame their son Scott as an alternate suspect. Well, Scott is speaking with 48 Hours, doubling down that it was his mother behind his dad's murder.
I absolutely had nothing to do with my father's death.
And it was 100% Melody Farris who murdered my father. That is the truth.
Why do you think she accused you of killing your father?
Because I was an easy target. I lived on the property. I'm a former military.
All right, so the question we're asking our legal analysts, does this latest interview make Scott Farris even more believable? We know the jury believed him. Do you? Let's bring back in former U.S. Attorney William Ehlenfeld and criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Franz Borghardt. All right, great to have you both here on this. Franz, let me start with you. As you gave us a lot of analysis throughout the course of this trial, your thoughts on hearing that Scott is doubling down now with 48 hours?
I can't imagine what it's like to be accused of killing your own father during a trial where the person you believe killed your father is on trial. So I can't even contemplate what it's like being Scott. That said, I think it's a very human response for him to double down. I think it was a smart move for him. I mean, look, there's collateral damage for this. Even if he had nothing to do with the death of his father, there are always going to be people that kind of look at him a little differently now and say, oh, is that the guy that may have killed his own dad? So, I don't blame the guy. I don't blame the guy at all. And I think that him doubling down with the documentary or the interview, the sentencing was very impactful. His testimony at that was very impactful. So I kudos to him. I don't blame him in the least, Julie.
Right. I don't blame him either. There he is crying in the gallery in that shot. As you said, that moment where his mother was convicted. He said this to 48 Hours about the family drama, the Ferris wheel expression that we heard. He said, this whole Ferris wheel term, none of us really like it. But if you want to know who the motor of the turning of that Ferris wheel was, Melody Farris. She always stirred up drama, always. William Ehlenfeld, we know that the jury did not believe that Scott Farris did this. We know Scott Farris denied doing what the defense was accusing him of. And I wanted to really pick your brain about what goes into the vetting of people as investigators and prosecutors are developing their suspects. Would you mind kind of taking us behind the scenes and what prosecutors have to do in making sure that they've got the right person before they move forward with a case?
Sure. So, it starts with your law enforcement. The front line would be the detectives in the Cherokee County Sheriff's Department who did a fabulous job in this case. I mean, they came onto the scene, this 10-acre beautiful piece of property just outside of Atlanta. And I think they initially felt it was some sort of a health issue where Gary Farris, maybe who had some health problems, maybe had a heart attack or something else and ended up in this burn pile somehow, maybe accidentally. But they had to go and begin to vet everybody, to include his wife, to include his children, to include anyone else who might have had access or who might have had a motive. And they did that. They talked to everyone. They interviewed the sons. They obviously talked to Melody and they talked to others, and they were very careful in trying to make sure that they got the right person. And I believe that they did. But the behind the scenes is that you have to cross everyone off the list until you're able to narrow it down. And they did that in this case. And I would also say that Melody Farris had a chance at trial to point the finger at her son, and her defense attorneys did that, and the jury didn't buy it. They even pointed the finger at him during their closing argument, and also had a demonstrative example trying to show that Melody wasn't capable of taking her husband over to the burn pile. The jury didn't buy any of that, and this is a case, I think, of too little too late for Melody Farris.
Such great analysis, William. Thank you for that. With respect to Scott and the accusations, let's talk about that a little more. We know that he was very carefully vetted. William, thank you, for going back and reminding us of the things investigators did. Pieces of evidence coming out. I mean, everything. They had his cell phone. He wasn't physically there when this homicide was done. But yet that defense team was relentless, Franz, as you know, trying to make him the bad guy. We heard him in the clip saying maybe because he's former military, maybe because there was tension in the family. These kids were all kind of living off of Dad. Dad made a very good living. What do you think that's it's like for him now in society. You know, I feel like today, it's very hard today with everybody in the court of public opinion has an opinion and access to a keyboard, and they can launch attacks at people like Scott Farris. Franz, what advice would you have for him if you were representing him? Just how to navigate through life after this conviction of mom. What would you say to him?
Well, I'm going to start with the conversation with him, assuming he actually didn't have anything to do with the murder of his mother. And that's, I feel comfortable with that assumption, but if I'm giving him advice, that's where we start. You know, the bottom line is I don't know that any media tour is ever going to heal him. I don't know that I mean, there's always going to be people out there that think that he had something to do with it. So I think, you know, in terms of rebuilding his life, his reputation, I don't know that there's anything he can quote unquote do. If he's going to do documentaries, I would just urge him to be consistent and careful with what he says, because any, you know, once you start, and we're seeing this in the Karen Reed trial right now, Julie, once you start making statements to documentaries and true crime shows or podcasts, those statements are memorialized, and you know, you just need to be careful that everything's consistent. But you know, I would probably actually urge him not to go on the media tour and say, look, just let this die down. She's going to get sentenced. She is sentenced, you know, and let life move forward.
Sage advice, Franz. I knew you would have some for us. Thank you for that. We'll leave it here just for a moment. We're going to hit a break, but when we come back, we're going to turn to Melody Farris. She's also speaking out to 48 Hours, so we'll hear what she has to say after the break. Plus, we're moments away from testimony resuming in defendant Karen Reed's retrial, with John O'Keefe's dear friend Jennifer McCabe returning to the stand.
How do you explain it? Two teenagers, they go from zero to the worst crime anyone can imagine.
She wanted to get her mom out of her life, to kill her.
You turned to murder.
Yes.
You are a shrewd operator.
I'm done with this interview. You're trying to make me seem like I'm a monster, and I'm not. Let me out.
Interview with a Killer. New episode, Sunday at 8 on Court TV.
Not only did I not do this, I know who did. I know Scott killed his father. He took my husband, the father of Chris, Emily, and Amanda.
That was what Melody Farris told the court ahead of her sentencing after being convicted of murdering her husband, Gary. Her new interview with 48 Hours remains in our spotlight this morning. In the latest episode, Farris remains firm that she didn't kill her husband, Gary. But I'll give you one guess as to who she said the real killer is.
I want everyone, but especially my children, my grandchildren, and at this point, the world, I didn't do this. I know who did. And it's our son, Scott. Without a shadow of a doubt, I know he did it.
Do you believe her? Do you believe her, or do you believe her son? Well, we know the jury didn't believe that Scott killed his father, Gary. We spoke to a juror on this program. Remember that? Take a listen.
It was just the overwhelming, in my opinion, evidence that she was there during the opportune times for the murder and the cleanup. It's not difficult to imagine that she could have moved the body. When we got out to the site, it felt like it was a bit steeper than it looked in the pictures. I know my own personal strength. I know I'm a bigger lady than she is, but I don't have any mental reservations. If I had to move something with everything available, I would have figured out a way to do it. Like, that was not a stretch for me at all.
Jury was convinced it was Melody. But we're going to play devil's advocate here. What if she's innocent? What if an innocent person was convicted here? Then what? Let's bring in our legal minds to talk about that. William Ehlenfeld and Franz Borghardt on the program this morning. Okay, so let's just say, for the sake of our analysis, that police and prosecutors and the jury, everybody got it wrong, that it wasn't Melody Farris. So then what? What now for her legally? What are her steps? William, would you walk us through that, please?
Of course, and let me say, I don't think they got it wrong. Once I heard that she was involved in an extramarital affair, that was enough for me to cause her to not have much credibility in my world, and I think that probably is the same for the jury. But let's say that perhaps she has found some new evidence that was not available to her at trial, and she wants to make a motion to the court for a new trial. That's a really heavy lift. It is not easy to convince a judge to throw out a jury verdict and let someone come back into court and have another trial. So it's got to be really strong evidence. It's got to be evidence that was not available to her at the time of trial. And I don't believe that to be the case, because when you see how quickly she has now come out and said that she knows that it was her son who did it, and her attorneys had the full opportunity at trial to point the finger at him, and they in fact did point the finger at him. They literally pointed the finger at him during their closing argument. I think her chances legally of being able to convince this judge to give her a new trial are slim to none. But it sounds like she might give it a try, probably with different attorneys, but it sounds like she's going to give it a try.
Great points. William, thank you for that. Franz, again here, I want to play devil's advocate, because I too, like William, am quite convinced that it was her, that she did it. I'm satisfied with the jury's verdict. But let's just say, for the sake of analyzing this morning, that she's an innocent person. Is there anything to be said for her being consistent with her finger pointing the finger at Scott at the trial, like William said they literally did, and then now she's still doing it to 48 hours?
So often after we go to trial, and if we lose, I advise my clients at sentencing and post-sentencing to make no statements. And in fact, the system understands that, Julie. If I stand before a judge at sentencing and say, Judge, with respect, it's my client's opportunity to do a colloquy with the court, but because she has appellate rights and she doesn't want to do anything to disturb those appellate rights, she's going to remain silent. I'm going to argue on her behalf. Everybody in the system understands that. To double down at this point is just doubling down at this point. Like it doesn't really help her. It doesn't hurt her. But most attorneys are going to tell their clients, be quiet, please stop, please shut your mouth. And look, she doesn't have to do interviews. She doesn't have to make statements. This is a choice on her part. Now, I think what she is going to do is, I think she's going to throw her defense team under the bus. And in as much as I absolutely agree with the analysis that the appellate process is going to be an uphill battle, I think she's also going to argue ineffective assistance, which is also for her going to be an uphill battle, because these attorneys did really good. They did really well at trial. They did a great job. They probably did exactly what she wanted them to do. So if I were representing her, I would tell her to shut her mouth.
Great advice, Franz. You're absolutely right. And her attorneys were very good. I remember thinking that. They were great advocates for her. But the facts are very bad for Melody Farris. And this was a robust investigation that worked out proving her guilt in the court of law. We got to leave it there, but I can't wait to watch that full episode and see what else I think about this woman as she sits in prison until 2054. That's when she's eligible for parole. All right, that is all for opening statements. Big thanks to our legal analyst guests, William Ehlenfeld and Franz Borghardt. You guys are the best. Thank you for your time and expertise. And my friends at home, share this episode. Tell your friends about opening statements. We're on every weekday morning here on Court TV.